and do something that can overpower someone, even if they get that structure set up. Battle of Wits is definitely a deck that's in the second camp.
Sure.
Travis's deck actually has both elements. He has a very good curve, low-end curve of haste creatures and Cacklers and Stormkirk Nobles to sort of get the ball rolling and win the game quickly. He also has Thundermaw Hellkite at the top of this curve, which can overpower a game even if Restoration Angel and Thragtusk start showing up. So,
and as we see Travis here, obviously you guys are familiar with him. He's a writer, he streams, he developed decks. He had a finals appearance in Portland with Green Summer, one of the Woo Brews, and this is his next Woo Brew, playing mono red now. As we see Rakdos Cackler and Ash Zealot come across, putting Joe down quickly to 16. And as you said, Travis has a nice board presence already because this deck does have a pretty, a nice low curve, but it has a pretty good high end as well.
Yes. I believe Joe has just drawn Supreme Verdict, so I think he's probably going to look to take one more shot here and hopefully sweep up the board. It's going to fall to 12 from the attack from the two power creatures. And
you see a Pyreheart Wolf.
This is another element of trying to beat Thragtusk.
Yes. It also does a fantastic job of beating Lingering Souls too, which is pretty ironic. The first time someone cast a Pyreheart Wolf against me, as we see a Supreme Verdict here, and one of the nice things about Pyreheart Wolf is that it does have Undying, so it's going to come back as a 2/2. Is that it kind of looks like a bad card. I mean, it's a 3-mana 1/1.
Right.
It's kind of embarrassing, to start, but the text that it has is pretty important. Obviously, the ability to have to block with 2 creatures, but also Undying is also a huge deal.
So yeah, he was able to just play that straight into the maw of a Supreme Verdict and not care too much.
Yeah.
Gorhal Chainwalker from Travis after attacking Joe for 2 more.
And as you see right now, you look at Travis's board. He has the 2 guys, one of them being the Pyreheart Wolf. So even though Thragtusk can be pretty good here for Joe, moving up to 15, it can't actually block.
Yeah, Travis has plenty of game even if Joe has Thragtusk here. Travis is also stuck on another Supreme Verdict, looks like. Travis is also stuck on 3 lands, so he still might have a Hell Rider or Hound of Gristlebrand at the ready if he draws his 4th land.
All right. Travis's hand currently contains 2 Ash Zealots. He also has a Rakdos Cackle that he's just drawn. It looks like he has a Pyreheart Wolf as well. So definitely some options. A little land light.
Yeah.
And he's playing, I think Travis is playing more lands than a typical red deck, right?
Yeah, he's playing 25. He has 22 mountains and 3 Hellion Crucibles.
So we're going to see Ash Zealot come across for 2. And we're also going to see Rakdos Cackler be unleashed in Travis' second main phase, pushing it back to Joe with Joe at 8.
All right, so Joe has Restoration Angel and Thragtusk in hand, so now it's time to see how well Travis can slog through this once it starts going. I believe he had another Pyreheart Wolf in his hand last turn. Is that true? Or no?
Yeah, I believe he does have
one. Was that Hell Rider?
No, he has a Searing Spirit and has another Ash Zealot, and I guess he has a mystery card that we're not sure of. But we are sure there is a Thragtusk coming into play for Joe.
The card that sets the parameters for the format right there. Thragtusk bringing Joe up to 13. Travis has just drawn his 4th land. There's a Hell Rider. Oh no, sorry, there's the Pyreheart Wolf. Possibly setting up. He has Searing Spirit plus Ash Zealot in hand now?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's setting up very nicely. As we do see Ash Zealot on screen. One of the newer cards. Can't believe that they can make a red 2-drop like this. You're probably a pretty big fan of that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of the stuff is about saturation, right? Like, you print 1 card like this, it probably doesn't cause a bunch of harm. If you print 4 cards that are in this space, then it's probably going to be damaging the metagame. But having 1 high watermark, hard to cast, aggressive creature probably doesn't ruin the format. Sure. If it does, there's probably other problems. So,
all right,
Thragtusk in. Definitely representing Restoration Angel.
We are going to see...
We're going to Farseek here.
Farseek. Now, the consensus opinion among everyone in the format, Patrick, is that Thragtusk is the best card in the format. Would you essentially agree with that?
I mean, it's certainly the best non-conditional value. It's not necessarily the best card in every matchup. You can build decks that don't particularly care about Thragtusk. But it does sort of set the table as far as what you can and can't be doing.
Okay.
So it's definitely the most influential card. It's not necessarily the most powerful card in every matchup, but At a certain point, this is semantics.
As we're going to see a main phase Restoration Angel here for Joe after he does attack. And the reason being is just he wants to be able to get the full value from the Thragtusk. Doesn't want to get his Restoration Angel, excuse me, broken up by a Searing Spear or a Brimstone Volley or anything like that. I think overall, instead of trying to walk Travis into a trap, I think this is just much safer.
Yeah, it's no reason to get too fancy here.
Yeah.
It's just, you've already represented that you have Restoration Angel or some sort of blinking effect by attacking with your Thragtusk here against Travis here, so you're not going to trick him, you might as well just play it safe. So this is where it starts to get a little ugly.
The game or Travis's mountains? Which one?
We talked about that earlier. He said that he likes it kind of the sock full of pennies sort of structure here. Random revised, and there's a Saga one throw in there.
We're going to see a Terminus. Pretty good as well. Yeah, it's going to leave Joe with a beast for his from his Thragtusk. It's going to leave him super far ahead on board now, too.
Yeah, even though Joe was in a fairly dominating position, I believe it is correct to just Terminus there because the threat of Hell Rider is pretty significant. Even at 18, the Wolf plus Hell Rider could represent a ton of damage. You could get punked out pretty easily.
Yep. As we're going to see Tamio, the Moon Sage, come down after the Terminus. Searing Spear is going to take care of the beast. And now it's Tamio versus, I believe there should be a Mountain tapped for Travis. Yes. We'll see a Stromkirk Noble. So Travis is holding just one card in his hand. Leads me to believe it's either a Hell Rider or a Thundermaw Hellkite.
Yeah. And Joe's done a very good job, even though, you know, Mono Red isn't a huge metagame player. I feel like he's done a very good job of this game and playing around the cards that Travis could reasonably have.
Yeah.
He's been pretty diligent about protecting himself against Hell Rider and Thundermaw Hellkite on some of these turns.
So you see another Stromkirk Noble off the top for Travis. Joe's draw step was a little better.
Yeah. I think we're going to see another Thragtusk here. Boom.
He is here. He is angry. Joe up to 23. And the thing about this mono red deck, which I actually find to be a pretty good deck in the format, is it has to be able to deal what I would say is 30 damage.
Yes. You can deal 20 quickly or then 30 later.
Yeah.
All right, Pyre. Well, we got a little game.
Pyre's going to try to make it a little tough. But it's just strange that, like, with just how the format is set up and how good of a card Thragtusk is, a mono red deck reasonably against any Thragtusk deck has to probably deal 30 damage to be able to win.
We had a minor earthquake in the booth, not on the site.
Yeah.
Everything's actually fine.
Tamio is going to tap down the Pyreheart Wolf. It's going to make things difficult here. And now this is a situation for Travis where Tamio's huge, threatening its ultimate. And if you start attacking the Tamio, not only does Thragtusk get to block, but Tamio's second ability comes online to start to draw cards, get through his deck.
This is rock and hard place territory right now for Travis. A little smile on his face, probably acknowledging the beatdown he's taking. We're in business mode. The hat came off.
We see a Hell Rider here.
Oh, okay.
That can get a little bit of work done.
That means something.
So we're going to have 3 Hell Rider triggers. They're all going to target Tamio.
So that's going to drop Tamio down to 5. And now Joe debating between whether or not he wants to just eat the Hell Rider, or sorry, trade with the Hell Rider and get that off the table, or eat a Noble. Yes, I like this block too. Just best to deal with that thing as you have when you have the window here. So I guess all the Nobles went after Joe here. Is that correct, or?
I think that looks to be the case actually. Now Joe has the option to draw 3 cards, which he's likely going to take.
Yeah, his hand's just 2 lands, so he needs to find something to do.
Hit 1, hit 2, hit 3. Didn't get a great look.
There's a Centaur Healer.
I believe there was a Supreme Verdict in there too. Yep, and a Farseek.
I'm a little surprised by the presence of Centaur Healer in some of these decks. Like, it's obviously good value, whatever, but it seems so mopey in similar matchups. Like if you're just playing these Thragtusk, Restoration Angel mirrors, if that's the most important thing, it seems so low impact in those games that
it's basically, do they need the help? Like, first of all, do they need the help main deck against the aggressive decks where they already have Thragtusk and Angel and Verdicts and all of this stuff? Where they actually need, as Joe's playing 2 Centaur healers, does he actually need the help against those decks? So I agree with you. Like, the format's so mid-rangey that a 3/3 for 3 is kind of unimpressive.
Yep.
So we're going to see Supreme Verdict number 3 here. Pyreheart Wolf coming on back. Centaur healer says, I don't care. Moving Joe up to, I believe, 24. So if you look at Joe's life total this game, I think he's gained 15, 16, 17. He's gained 18 extra life this game.
Yeah.
Which is just wild.
So yeah, even if Travis is able to handle the Tamino over the long term here, his draw steps are just so low impact compared to Joe's that in the absence of something like Thundermaw Hellkite, I have no idea how he's supposed to get out of this game. And there's a Restoration Angel. Reasonably high impact draw here.
This matchup just seems like a case where, and this isn't to say that Travis can't win, but it's just Joe's cards are just so much better than Travis's cards. But like the idea behind Travis's like deck, where Joe is just like a good card deck, and Travis's deck is more of a trying to think of the word I'm looking for, just more of like an actual deck trying to do a plan.
There's a lot more cohesion.
Yes. Oh, Angel Serenity.
Oh.
So it was not Restoration Angel. You were wrong.
Right.
You should feel bad.
This is not bad here either. All right. Travis is finally going to tap.
It's called being not too proud.
Yeah.
And that's okay. As Joe Lossett is up a game with his back control deck against Travis Wu and his mono red deck. You have Travis's deck list in front of you.
Yep.
You have the sideboard. What can he do?
Well, he has 1 copy of Hound of Gristlebrand main and 2 more in the sideboard. For those of you who do not know, he is a 2/2 Undying Double Striker for 4.
Yes.
I talked to Travis a little bit about that card. It seems good in this matchup. Obviously the Undying creatures are very good against Supreme Verdict. Also, the way that the card stats line up against Restoration Angel is something that you can just attack into. This is often an issue with Hellrider, is when your opponent has 4 up, it's dodgy to attack.
Sure.
And you don't have that problem with Hound of Gristlebrand. That said, I assume he's going to have both Hound and Hellrider in his deck after board. He also has a single copy of Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt, for those of you who don't know, is a Weatherlight special that was reprinted, I believe, in the last set.
Avacyn Restored.
Yeah, last set of the previous block. It's 3 to a player or 4 to a flying creature for red and a colorless or instant speed. Reasonable answer to Restoration Angel. Pretty much it's not a straight upgrade to Searing Spear in the matchup, because sometimes you want a Searing Spear or a Thragtusk, but having a good, clean answer to Restoration Angel seems very valuable to me. He also has 2 copies of Stone Right, and it wouldn't surprise me if those came in, just because he needs to get a little bit more aggressive in this matchup. He has Pillars of Flames and Searing Spears that aren't particularly good in this matchup. They aren't good at killing things, and Joe has so much life gain that the burnout plan is not reasonable. They're pretty low impact. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of his spells cut to get a couple more creatures into the deck.
Okay. On Joe's side, taking a look at his sideboard, there's an Azorius Charm that can come in along with the 3 that he has starting, so wouldn't be surprised to see that. Dispel, something that he could consider bringing in, because it is a red deck after all, along with 2 negates. 2 unsummons, which normally you don't find in the sideboard of this kind of deck, but in this particular matchup, I wouldn't be surprised to see these being very good, because it is just about delaying and making sure that he doesn't die.
Yeah.
3 guys to St. Traff, not really where he wants to be. 2 Jace, Architect of Thought. Very nice card, especially if he can play it on turn 3 via Farseek. And then a card that he could potentially bring in that I'd be surprised if he brought in for this game is 2 Selesnya Charm. And the reason I say that is because the modes that on this card are all obviously very good. Making a 2/2 Knight, being able to trade with something in the early turns is quite good. But he didn't see Thundermaw Hellkite in that game. I think if he saw Thundermaw Hellkite, or if he knew that Travis was playing 4 of them, then he would want to bring in both of those to be able to take care of Thundermaw and be able to trade early. Yes. But because he didn't see Thundermaw Hellkite, it may not spark his interest to say, I'm going to bring these in because it's got 2 modes that I really care about.
Yeah.
But as both players are looking at their opening hand, I would say that Joe is probably favored, as Travis is going to be taking a mulligan wouldn't be able to keep with 10 cards, it looks like. I think that this is a favorable matchup for Joe. It's certainly not impossible for Travis to win, and I think that coming into this tournament, Travis knew that he was going to have to play against and beat this deck a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the presence of Centaur Healer, in addition to Thragtusk, is about the worst thing that a mono red deck can see. That said, Joe's got a lot of kind of junky cards in his deck in the matchup, you know? So the haste creatures that Travis can present are actually good, line up pretty well against a lot of Joe's removal. So in the absence of Thragtusk, I think Travis has a very good shot, but obviously Joe ramping into that card, super problematic. The red deck just doesn't have the range or the durability to fight over that kind of card.
Travis looks at his 6. Is he happy? That is a question.
All right.
He doesn't love it, but it looks like he's going to keep it. All right, we're off.
Rakdos Cackler.
See a Sun Petal grow from Joe. Travis is stuck on 1.
It's got some action.
He does have some action for being stuck on 1. I'll give you that.
That was not a Terminus. Joe with the slow reveal.
We're going to see a Cavern of Souls here, and we'll find out what that's naming in a moment. Not that it's terribly relevant in this particular matchup.
It's naming Angel, but with this Farseek here, I think Joe's reasonably able to cast all of his spells here going forward. So
now we got the second land. Maybe.
I think that was it.
Okay.
That was it.
And he does have an Ash Salad over there, so the beatdowns are going to start up here.
All right, 6 in. Now we're going to see if we have a Supreme Verdict at the ready.
It's going to knock Joe down to 12, and I mean, it's pretty important that he has Supreme Verdict this turn, right?
Yep.
I mean, I guess Centaur Healer's kind of a beating, too.
Detention Sphere wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, he does have a lot of good options available. We'll see what he has in his hand. We're going to see. Ba-boom.
Right, there they all go.
And Joe is starting 4 Supreme Verdicts, so it's not terribly surprising for him to have one there.
I think Travis is debating between the Gorehound Chainwalker and the Ash Zealot.
Now, if you're Travis there, which one would you play?
Probably the Chainwalker.
Okay.
You sort of need to maximize the value of your cards, and there's a huge opportunity cost to delaying a turn. Okay.
As we see Restoration Angel.
Just do an Elven Ambush.
Joe looks pretty land heavy.
Yeah, no, he's Farseek and 3 more lands in hand plus.
And then plus a mystery card, as I think the mystery card is Terminus, but he is relatively land heavy.
Yeah, he's light on action for sure. Anyhow, the reason there that I would have led with the Chainwalker is, generally speaking, I like leading with the non-haste creatures because, it's much easier to engineer a situation where you're going to get your haste creature in for 2.
Okay.
And secondly, the value of your non-haste creatures definitely just goes down as the game progresses.
Absolutely.
So let's assume you get to connect both. If you assume that you get to connect with both creatures in like the following turns, your Ash Zealot goes 2 on the first turn, then 4 on the second turn, then you have Chainwalker in play. Your Chainwalker goes 3 on the first turn, plus the Ash Zealot on the second turn, so it's like more damage that turn, assuming they both connect.
And that's really what, I mean, obviously that's what you prefer when you're playing a red deck. And every point counts, especially in this matchup.
You know, for sure. And it's also, you know, I would probably err on the side of getting greedy given, you know, the difficulties of winning on a mulligan, installing on lands and all that kind of stuff.
So see Joe's hand right now. He has Terminus, a land, and an
Azorius Charm. Yeah.
Freshly drawn for him. So Travis does draw his 3rd land. We'll see what he decides to go with. We see a Hellrider in Travis's hand. We also know there's a Pyreheart Wolf looming over there.
He's just going to pass the turn.
And Joe opts not to cycle his Azorius Charm on Travis's end step.
And this is, you know, somewhat telling of sort of what we're talking about with the matchup here is, you know, Travis mulligan stalled on land. Joe had a turn 3 Supreme Verdict that swept up 3 creatures. And in the absence of a life gain creature, Joe is actually in some amount of trouble here.
Yeah.
I mean, Travis's board is getting pretty threatening. He's going to probably have to pull the trigger. I assume he's going to pull the trigger on the Terminus this turn. Because when you have Azorius Charm backup, you have some protection against, a Hell Rider off the top or something like that.
As we see an attack
Yeah,
here
this
from
is
Joe.
definitely representing that he's just going to be.
And again, it's just something that we talked about during the last game, is that Joe's draws are obviously much more high impact than Travis's, but again, he has to draw those cards.
Yeah.
I mean, he can draw. If he draws Strength's Revelation, this game is over. Thragtusk turns this game heavily in Joe's favor, so there are a ton of cards that he can draw, but he needs to draw them.
Yeah. And he's definitely at danger not finding a life gain creature, because if the game goes on for a long time, and there's the 4th land.
We have Hounded Gristlebrand.
There's the Hound.
Bow wow wow, yippee yo, yippee yay.
So yeah,
Joe, considering reading the card.
Yeah, tried to not do it, but had to read.
As Hound is on the screen for you guys to be able to take a read. As Patrick brought up, 2/2 double strike Undying, nice against the Wraths, nice against a couple different things as well. Joe also taking a look at the Hellion Crucible on Travis's side. We'll bring that up for you guys as well.
And
Joe with another land. Is Travis gonna be able to steal this one? Is that a 5th land?
So it looks like a Crucible. Yep, that's a.
Now we know that Travis has another Hound in his hand. He has a Hell Rider. If you're on this spot, which way do you go?
Probably just lead with the Hell Rider.
Okay.
It's the best way of playing around Azorius Charm, which is a card that Joe could reasonably have in his hand.
Okay. We see Hell Rider here. Travis cautiously casting it.
And if Joe has nothing, this plays also is pretty sweet.
2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So not lethal this turn if he has nothing. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But I mean, yeah, still sweet, nonetheless.
Yeah, when the threat of Azorius Charm is there, I would have a difficult time rationalizing casting another non-haste creature here.
Sure.
Because then it plays very closely to Time Walk, whereas this board is Travis is getting some value out of this turn, even if Azorius Charm is there.
Now let me ask you this: Joe's been holding on to Azorius Charm for a while. Would you have cycled at some point just to try to find a Thragtusk or a Strength's Revelation, or are you good with just holding that and trying to get value from it?
I think that I like sitting. He's drawing here. Okay. Wow.
That one is surprising to me.
Yeah, okay. I guess he's sort of, because let's say that if he Azorius Charms the non-haste creature, does he still need to draw something to prevent lethal? Like if Azorius Charm doesn't prevent him from losing the game the following turn anyway, he might just need another draw step.
Sure.
He's conceding. Okay.
Yeah, he ended up drawing land off of the Azorius Charm, Supreme Verdict for the turn. He verdicts, Hounded Gristlebrand has him dying, it comes back, and it takes a bite out of crime.
Right.
So, oddly enough, Travis mulliganing a 6 and missing his second land drop that game, still able to take it down.
Yeah. In general, I was a fan of holding on to Azorius Charm there because there's a very good chance it helps you fight against some potential haste creature. Also, Joe had so much mana that if he's ever in a position where he has to cycle, there's no risk of him cycling into something relevant and then not being able to cast it.
Sure.
But the way that last turn played out was a little funky.
Yeah, it was a little strange. It was a little strange to me. Both players not even going back to the sideboards. Just happy with their configurations, shuffling up. Joe thinking to himself, what went wrong that game?
It flooded out. I mean, that was the big deal, obviously. But yeah, another thing about building mono red that I found is just Restoration Angel is pretty tough card to fight, even if they don't have Thragtusk, because just the way a 3/4 lines up against the stats of your creatures.
Sure.
Like it's good against Hell Rider, all the cheap haste creatures, whatever. Previous to the rotation, you could find cards like Dismember or Mutagenic Growth that could give you some game against just Restoration Angel blocking.
Okay.
But there's nothing really in the format to provide that kind of role.
Yeah.
I found myself going to Thunderbolt fairly often. It's just like a good clean answer that's not dead. But Thunderbolt's obviously far more situational than a card like Dismember.
Yes, yes. I'm inclined to agree with you, sir. As both players are looking at their opening 7 decisions.
All right, both keeping?
Both are keeping. We start with a temple. We start with a Hallowed Fountain for Joe. Travis is going to start the show with
a Stone Right.
A Stone Right, not often seen.
This is the Soulbound Fire Breather. Soul Bond, rather. Sorry.
And we're going to see a
Boom.
Stromkek Nurgle.
That's a 2-ball.
That is 2 all day, all night.
Stone Right's actually a creature that actually lines up fairly well against Restoration Angel.
Agree.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this red deck is like some of the cards just don't look very good. Stone Right, you look at that card, you're just
a lot of the cards don't look very good.
Yeah, you're just like, what is this thing? But like, it's actually like a reasonable card. It trades up,
Yep.
and if you don't have a blocker, it gives you something to do with your lands. And with Travis having 25 lands in his deck, it's a pretty good card. As we see, Joe doesn't have any green mana right now. I mean, signals to me there's probably a Supreme Verdict over there. Obvious. I think that one's pretty clear cut. Would like to believe so.
The Fire Breathers plus just having mana sinks in general gives you a lot of game in playing around Supreme Verdict.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. You don't have to extend into it as much. This is a card that someone is Travis is very happy to extend into it with Empire Heart Wolf.
Yep.
But this demands an answer from Joe right now of Travis's board because Travis is having to play another spell. He's happy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is lethal and not too long.
You'll see Joe thumbing through a Supreme Verdict. He also has a Sphinx's Revelation, also a Restoration Angel. Supreme Verdict going to take care of the 2 dorks, leaving the Pyreheart Wolf, which you could classify as a dork if you wanted to.
Ugh, Hellrider.
2 triggers from Hellrider. In addition to 5 damage, that's going to be a hit for 7.
Yep. We need another Supreme Verdict here. Travis's deck is, between the cheap creatures, the Undying creatures, and the haste creatures, actually pretty well set up to fight against Wrath of God effects.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, as far as a creature deck goes, his is as durable as you can really ask for.
It's interesting because Supreme Verdict is like pretty good against the deck, but not great. But Terminus is much better of the 2.
Yes.
And I mean, you can't control Terminus because it costs 6, and there's no way to set it up like you can with Joe's normal deck of choice, which is Blue White Miracles and Legacy.
Yeah. So yeah, Restoration Angel not too attractive here. It does appear that Joe has a bootleg revised unsummon in his hand. So that plus Restoration Angel, I think, is probably going to be his turn here. That does actually a halfway decent job of working on stabilizing the board here.
Yeah, and Unsummon just got a lot better this turn now too, because now we can bounce Hellrider, so Hellrider doesn't even have an effect this turn if he wants to.
Yeah.
But Ash Zealot is being put on this stack here for Travis. Travis going for the throat this turn.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we have to unsummon here. There's no.
It's just to me, it's a decision of what do you want to unsummon, because I mean there are two very good choices.
He could get the wolf here and then
be able to do some sort of blocking. Eat the Hellrider with the Angel.
The unsummoning the wolf is a lot more dangerous if you think there's a possibility that Travis is sandbagging a land drop.
Okay.
But it's also like there's no. If you unsummon the wolf here, then the jig is up. Like it's obvious that he also has Restoration Angel.
Okay.
And so that could influence like just the attacks in general. Okay, he's gonna go for it. So I assume we're just gonna sit on our hands here unless we have like Thunderbolt in our hand.
So no, this is the fun part of Magic. This is the game inside the game, because Joe bounces the wolf, and what if he doesn't even have Restoration Angel here? We know that he has it, but if you're Travis, you have to think, okay, like does he actually have Restoration Angel? Is he bluffing? Like he can play around Restoration Angel and then just not attack. I mean, he'll get in two Hellrider triggers plus 2 from the Zealot to put Joe down to 5, but he's going to lose his Hellrider. There's going to be a 3/4 on the board.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're in Travis's position, are you attacking?
I mean, I'm not a huge fan unless he has a lot of range in his hand. Because what are you doing? You're dropping him to 5 here?
And there isn't a ton of reach in Travis's deck, right?
Well, he could have Thundermaw Hellkite. That's the big game changer, right? Cause
sure.
Getting him to 5 when you have Thundermaw in hand and one of his big defensive elements is Restoration Angel is a big deal.
The other thing is there's also an interesting element to that is where it's like pretty clear cut that he has Restoration Angel, but if you sit, like the longer that you sit, the more you're opening yourself up to like Sphinx's Revelation or Thragtusk being like a backbreaker. So it's again like a rock hard place type thing.
Also, if Travis's hand is just jammed with action, like he's missing land drops or whatever, then he might just be happy to like just be able to cash in his spells when he can for some amount of damage.
Sure.
You know, he's action heavy right now, so he might be able to just not value individual cards that highly. Joe just saying go. He's got Sphinx's Revelation in hand. An Odyssey Mountain from Travis. And
there's Thundermaw Hellkite. So that one does turn around. I think he needed the 5th land to be able to play that.
Yep.
And so now Joe is facing down. He can Revelation for 3, put himself down up to 8, but this is a lethal attack.
He needs a Revelation for 2 and find an unsummon, right? Like that's where we're at now.
I think that's the out. I mean, he could Revelation for 1 and try to find an Azorius Charm, but that's not very appealing.
Yeah. And then his hand is just a Terminus. Like, where does he go from there, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, Joe is just trying to figure out what his best permutations of Sphinx's Revelations are. I think that I prefer just try to find an unsummon here.
One left in the deck.
Gotta get greedy though, because it's not like even if he found Azorius Charm off his thing for 1, it's like any good.
Detention Sphere, something else.
Nope, that's it.
Not gonna do it. Travis Wu,
Dragons!
Daggeron himself, burning it down with a Thundermaw Hellkite.
Yep.
Giving the match 2-1 over Joe Lossett playing Ban Control.
Yep. And I'm not one that speculates on the secondary market, but I think with the way the format is now, and with 2 presumably aggressive guilds coming out in Gatecrash in the near future, Thundermaw Hellkite's influence on the format is going to get bigger and bigger.
It's going to be heavy, and I thought like after rotation happened, there were 2 cards that after the rotation happened that I expected to really pick up and play.